Hello, I'm Citrus, and you're looking at the high-grade Universal Century Zeta Plus Unicorn version. This is technically the Zeta Plus A1, as those familiar with Sentinel might know this has. This kit came out in July of 2014, but mine actually came from November 2015. And the distinction is important because the first version of this kit came with a printing error. The front armor piece here on the first print of this was completely smooth. There was no sort of cut down portion of it. Bandai actually did a recall at the time. I don't exactly remember what the compensation was. Either you would return your entire kit for the money or just the replacement part, and then they would send you the new piece. But the crotch was printed wrong and everything was corrected after the first print, and the version I have here has been corrected. The erroneous version also has this error on the actual box art, so you can tell pretty easily if you're shopping online. Mandrake actually still has a couple of these first edition errors floating around if you're into misprints and stuff like that. Now let's just take a quick look around the box here. So pretty pricey here. You can see 2,400 yen on the box with the red label. So prior to the Bandai Spirits restructuring, you'll notice that this video is a little shorter than usual because there won't be a build. And the reason for that is, of course, well, I already built it. So I actually also have the high-grade Zeta Plus C1, which was released a short while afterwards in 2016. And I was originally planning on, well, building this on video, and then I would just sort of build this myself the first time around, just so I can get familiar with how the kit is put together and everything. But unfortunately, I wasn't super impressed with this. So I'm a little bit on the fence about whether or not I'll even keep this at all. But instead of just, leaving this whole thing tabled for, I don't know, another several more months, maybe a year, I figured I'd just get it out of the way now. And, well, most likely I'll be selling this on to somebody who will probably enjoy it a lot more than I will. So if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I really, really like 1/144 scale kits. 1/144 scale is my favorite grade to collect. And you can see that, in this series, even up until now, there had been a lot of releases. I was really, really keen on having this displayed next to my high-grade Delta Plus and Delta Gundam when I had it all put together. But there's just a couple of problems with this that kind of keep it from being like the perfect kit for me. Not a lot of parts, as you can see here. The parts tray, if you really add it all up, is maybe only about 3.5 sprues worth of parts, which makes the 2,400 yen price tag a little bit more questionable. Construction on its own is not terribly complex either, as you can see here. And then at the end, you can see we have the typical disassemble, reassemble kind of transformation, which I'll walk you through in a minute. All the details are, well, mostly correct. There aren't a lot of seam lines on the kit either. The only really noticeable one is the one down the middle of the arm. All the other ones are pretty well managed or hidden into actual panel lines that should be on the kit. The included stickers are the EFF thing on the binder, the Zeta Plus, which you get, I believe, 5 of. So there's one here that I put, one on the back, one on the front, one there, and one there. You don't really get too much guidance about where to put them, so just put them wherever you like. I did paint this up a little bit, so all the silver bits you see are painted by me. The black inserts in here and on the chest are painted as well, along with this bit, which is what the beam saber holder is supposed to be. And this obviously doesn't come out because you get a pair of separate beam sabers. Very short, I have to say. So this is like the old style that Bandai would include with high grades, I think basically up until about 2013-ish, I want to say. And then after that, they generally moved on to including the longer ones. The short ones don't look too bad, but I think the longer ones would have looked way nicer. This was produced before Bandai really started stretching out everything to make them look cooler. Especially at the 1/144 scale level. So if you were to compare this to, say, like the Master Grade or something, you see that the proportions are still fairly close. Not entirely spot on, of course. If you're the type of builder who puts together a kit and then just leaves it in a nice standing pose after you detailed it and painted it up, then this kit's pretty good for you, because the detail out of the box is I would say, satisfactory. It's really when we start handling it that we start running into problems. So let me take off the accessories first. Have the shield on the back. Looks pretty good. And you have the beam rifle, which you can attach to the wing binder. So this is the same beam rifle, I believe, that comes with the Rizel and the Delta Plus. So it's not the Gundam Sentinel style beam rifle that has like the round ammo pack on the back. The fact that you can store all the accessories on the body itself is a pretty nice feature. So movement is quite average, actually a little underwhelming for what I'd say 2014 is. You get just single bend at elbows, not too much motion in the neck, even though it looks like there should be a ton. I can't really look to the side very well. Have a ball joint hips, which work all right. There is a waist joint, but it doesn't move very much because this piece is sort of clipped in, kind of. Get just a little bit of motion either side. It's enough to emote, I guess, but not a lot to do very dynamic poses. I think there's something maybe a little wrong with how the joints are set up vertically. So the hips are kind of forward of the center, as you can see. The shoulders are slightly behind, which should be good, but for some reason, whenever I get it to stand up, it always seems like the torso is just standing a little bit too far forwards of where it's supposed to, and it always kind of looks like it's doing like this. And then when you try to put it, the legs just having standing vertically, it looks like the shoulders are too far back. So it's kind of awkward to get it standing up in a normal looking way. Double joint knees, which is pretty typical for Zeta. Pretty nice. And of course, you can do that, but there's actually a problem here, and I'll get to in a minute. And we have bendy ankles and the toe can tip. All right, so the first problem is this. So for the transformation, the instructions tell you to just do that and leave the foot there, which is completely wrong. So if I bring my S Gundam in for a second here, so the Zeta Plus is supposed to do this bit exactly the same. All the foot is supposed to do is that. The heel just snaps forward and it turns into a block like this. And that way, when you do tip the foot down, you can see it's actually not very thick. So it's just like that, and then it sort of just flows into the calves. Unfortunately, because of how they've chosen to implement this on the high grade, because you bend the foot in like this, these flaps in the front and the back are basically forced open because of the foot isn't narrow enough. And that really disrupts the clean line that this entire portion is supposed to have. So in Wave Rider mode, this doesn't look very good. And the other thing is the knee here. The bottom half of the leg doesn't quite bend forward enough. So if we have the knee all the way straight, you can see that the bottom half of the leg only bends forward by about, what is that, maybe 60 degrees, when really it's supposed to be closer to 90. And what happens is when you do the full Wave Rider bend, the legs don't go parallel. And to have them really be straight, like this, the knee isn't all the way horizontal like this, and the leg being a lot more extended than it should really look. And I really don't know why, because there's definitely plenty of clearance for it underneath. If we pop the kneecap off, like so, then you can accomplish you can roughly accomplish the correct result by just forcing it in like that. That's what it should look like. But then you come around the front and the knee cover is missing and it looks horrible from the bottom. Very, very, very odd design choice, considering that they didn't have to compromise on this on the high grade Zeta. Not even the original one from, I think it was like 2003 or something, whatever it is, the really old kit. It's just very, very odd. Okay, so let's take this apart now and put it into Wave Rider mode. And here's the finished Wave Rider, which, if you ignore the legs, looks pretty good actually. And the fact that it's in the 1/144 size really pleases me. Now for the rifle, you can do the classic position, which using this tab in the back, you can put it either up here, which looks a little silly in my opinion, or much preferably, you can use this other tab here from where the trigger is folded in and stick it under the wing. And you can stick the action base right in the back here. Pretty unobtrusive. You don't need a big sort of stand adapter or anything like that to get this aerial. So the problem with this kit that really kills it for me is that the Wave Rider is not accurate to any of the original designs or line art. They really messed this up for reasons that I cannot understand. If the legs folded up correctly with all of the parts in the right places, I definitely would recommend this, but as it stands, because I'm a person who really likes the Zeta Plus Wave Rider, and in fact I really like all the Wave Riders because of how they transform, this is pretty disappointing for me. And at 2,400 yen, the steep price really is off-putting. You have to think that for less money, at 1,800 yen, you can buy the Gundam Evolution Project Zeta Gundam, which comes with more accessories and has a more accurate transformation relative to its original design. Or for just 600 yen more, at 3,000 yen, you can buy the Master Grade Zeta Plus. Now, of course, if you like the gray Zeta Plus A1, and then the Master Grade will cost you a little bit more. But of course, you can also just buy the C1 if you're okay with the big cannon. So yeah, I'm really not sure what happened with this kit back when Bandai decided to release it in 2014. The resells were all cheaper, and none of their transformations have any problems that are as egregious as this. I think this is another situation where they were probably banking on all the Gundam Sentinel fans to basically buy anything that's put in front of them. You know, they were just thought, okay, well, we're not going to sell very many of these, so let's not try that hard and just crank the price up a little bit because, well, we can't count on big sales numbers. So if you're okay with just leaving your built kits in a mobile suit mode and you don't care about the Wave Riders very much, go ahead, pick this up. This is great. Also, if you plan on like maybe kit bashing this into like a Hummingbird or something like that, probably worth it as well. But if you like the Wave Rider at all and you want to display it in that mode, I would skip on this. Just buy the Master Grade or buy one of the action figures instead. Even if they're more expensive, they look better and they do the transformation properly, which if you like Wave Riders, you know, that's probably something you care about anyway. So that's all for this review. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.